right, all right. Welcome to a little crazy podcast. I am David Magee. With me, the Phoebe Goodwin.
Hello, David.
Hey, so Phoebe, who do you think is most likely to make a New Year's resolution? Like, what characteristic? I don't mean somebody you know, but like meaning an old person, a young person, a middle-aged person, a male, a female. Like, who is most likely as we come to the end of a year and people start thinking about what do they want in 2025? What do they want? What do I want? What do you want in 2025? Who is most likely, what demographic is most likely to make a New Year's resolution?
Do you have the answer?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
well, I was going to be a little more mystical and say, I think people who are just tired of themselves. So I'm like, that could be any age range, but I mean, maybe a middle-aged person.
Oh, yeah. So in other words, middle-aged people are more likely to be tired.
Well, you're just a little stuck.
Tired of themselves.
You know, you're kind of settled into your career.
Do you know the answer?
No, I have no idea.
Young adults are most likely to
Really?
make resolutions.
The ambition.
Half of all young adults in this country, according to Pew Research. This isn't out of David's head. This isn't out of that nutty head of mine. I mean, usually when I quote stuff, I mean, it's research-based. And young adults, 50%, actually the number's 49% of young adults are most likely to make a New Year's resolution.
Huh. Is it mainly male or mainly female?
So I think it's I think it's fairly mixed,
Okay.
though a little more female.
Okay.
But you know why? I think it's because at the top of the list, it's health related.
Okay.
And often that could involve someone's weight, that could involve, different health related issues. Health is the top reason that people would make a resolution for New Year's. Also on the list below health are money. Like I will resolve to save better or, not just waste all my money. The other is career. And another is relationships or personal interests like hobbies.
Okay.
But health is at the top. And young people, as in you are in the strike zone, are you a 50% who is down with the New Year's resolution or not?
Sort of.
Yeah.
I think I used to really be into like, I'm gonna hike a 14er this year, or I'm gonna run a half marathon,
Yeah.
or
And what's a 14er just for
it's a mountain
the novices
that has
listening?
an elevation of over 14,000 feet.
Okay.
So a lot of them are out in Colorado.
We didn't have any inside baseball. We had to make
Right.
sure we clarify.
Yeah, sorry.
Have you done that?
No, I haven't.
You had a resolution, or you thought about
Well,
resolving?
my sister had a resolution to do
Okay.
it, and she did it. But
Did she?
I think a lot of it, resolutions are always very daunting to me because
Same.
they feel like, okay, I'm setting myself up for failure, sort of.
Right.
Like I'm making a list of things that I'm going to try to do for a month and then going to forget about in May.
So of people who have a New Year's resolution, 60% of them are still doing it in 1 month, but many of them are not doing it
Wow.
in 2 months. It usually lasts 1 month.
Wow.
But most people, a majority of people are pretty good about it for 1 month. If
Yeah.
they said, I'm not going to do, I'm going to work on running a long period, or I won't eat whatever for a month, they can do it for about a month.
Yeah. And I think a part of that is, which we'll definitely be talking about, is the changes they're making aren't sustainable to the life they're already living.
Absolutely.
If you haven't ever run before, running 13 miles is going to take a while.
Yeah.
You don't start training for a half marathon by running 10 miles.
Yeah, and so you don't have to, like, having such an ambitious goal, you don't have to go there. Maybe
Right.
your goal is, I will start running.
Yeah.
And I will start. So it's interesting. I will tell you that being in the age category, Phoebe, of 50 and up, which I am, I'm above 50, somewhere in there. Only 1/5 of people my age even have a New Year's resolution.
Wow, I was wrong. Well, I guess, I was wrong.
And so I think the thing is, though, it doesn't mean that we don't want better. It's interesting. I'm not big about a New Year's resolution. I really don't like them.
Yeah.
I think it's a cause for, it sets you up for failure.
Yeah.
But that said, I'm pretty obsessive. I'm fairly obsessive about a New Year plan.
Mm-hmm.
You will notice probably in communications, even about this podcast or things that I'm doing, I frame my life in years.
Mm-hmm.
This year of 2025, what will it be for David? And a lot of people that I work with, I look at them and how I can help them achieve a lot of the same way. But it's not around resolutions. It's around what can I do to have a better life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it may be what you're talking about, as in I want better, and what I have is really good.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so joyful. But I believe in continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm.
That base principle of lean manufacturing. I believe in continuous improvement. So I think a new year, what better time to frame, like, how's this going to be the year of David?
Yeah.
How can I better more positively impact the lives of others? And how can I even take what feels good and is joyful and make it better?
Right. And I think a lot of it is not necessarily coming up with all of these changes, but continuing to do things that work for you.
Right.
And so continuing to do things that keep you healthy. I mean, health is important to mental health.
100%. And that's
is
why
important,
people,
yeah.
and they know that instinctively.
Right.
And that's why they want to have these resolutions around it. But what you say is like, okay, health is important.
Mm-hmm.
But if you decide, what happens is, just in the typical resolution, it's top line.
Mm-hmm.
As in, those of us who have been through something like addiction or have overcome other mental health issues, what we know is you got to get down to the core issue.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get down to the root thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So if I think that I'm merely drinking too much, if I make a New Year's resolution, well, I'll give you an example. I had a friend once. They're like, they drank a lot, and we drank a lot together. And I remember them saying they had some New Year's resolution. They were only going to drink beer in the new year. In their mind, it was less damaging than, say, the vodka they were drinking a lot of and too much of. So they have this resolution as if, or somebody says, in the new year, I'll only drink on weekends. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem with that is, what is the core issue? You're not even digging in of why you're drinking so much anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing around food or other things. Is sure, there may be adjustments you want to make to your diet, but what's really going on?
Right.
What hole are you trying to fill? Mm-hmm. What anxiety are you trying to soothe, And so when I approach the new year, it's just like the resolution. I mean, maybe I'm kind of the anti-resolution guy, which is interesting because I'm pretty obsessive about a New Year plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're just two different
Well,
things.
I think they are different because, in a way, having a plan is sustainable. It's, of course, I want to be the kind of girl that gets up and goes to the gym every day, but I'm not. And so you have to be realistic.
Nor am I that guy.
And
we
I
have
don't think
something
I'll
in common here, Phoebe.
ever be that girl, but I love to walk.
Yeah.
I love to walk
Same.
with friends. I like to go occasionally on a run. And so I think finding things that are sustainable that you enjoy. If someone gives me dumbbells, I'm going to toss them in the trash, okay? And so
no
I think,
dumbbells for Phoebe for Christmas.
Please no. It's like worse than coal. But I think people think, oh, well, in the new year, I'll be a completely different person than I am today.
You're still the same.
But you're still the same.
It's still you.
You're still not going to like the dumbbells. And, yeah.
Can I come back to this gym thing for a minute? Because gym memberships soar in the new year, and good for everybody that loves the gym. But we have something in common here, and I just need to talk about it for a second. I just do not like a gym. I do not like it. I do not like it. And there have been periods of my life where I think I feel guilty. Like maybe I should go and try it, and maybe I should like it. What I love, you give me, I'll go walk 9 miles. Let me see the sun rise and set. Let me see it at 11 a.m. Let me go see streets I've never seen. I will walk and I will walk and I will walk. And there's other workouts I will do, I think. Yeah. But a gym is not it.
Right.
But those of us that share this, does it kind of bother you that people look at us kind of weird? Like I have a little stigma about it. I'm not going to lie. 59 years old, I haven't shaken that yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way I'm like, well, I should like it because working out is good for you. Like having
It
that
can be
habit,
for sure.
like moving is important, and
Yes.
that takes care of your body and helps you
Movement is important.
with your health and with your mental health and with your
No question.
energy levels and with your sleep. Like it impacts so much of your day that for so long, gym has been the only way of movement. But now I feel like we're kind of coming into this space where there's a lot of different kinds of movement.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be people would pick up hay bales on the farm, and now
Right.
there's a machine to do it.
Right.
So you have to get into the when you were in college and the new year would happen, because I know how this goes. We live in a college community. The new year starts, and gym memberships, I mean, in activities soar everywhere. But, I mean, you can go to, say, a center on this university campus near us at Ole Miss and go in there in late January, early February, and it is packed.
It's slammed.
And so when you would have friends that would be in that movement where all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we were all drinking together last semester. This semester, like, we're all going to go to the gym a bunch. And come on, Phoebe.
I'm like,
And how did you ever feel pressure for that or not really? Could you just be you and say, yeah, I'll pass?
I would sometimes go. Like if some of my friends knew how to work out, I'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, sure, I'll go with you and you can help me actually work out. But I remember my roommate last year, she was a very consistent gym goer.
Mm-hmm.
And January was her least favorite month of the year because there were all these random people who were never there in June.
Yeah, so she was
taking
like the
her
gym snob,
spot.
like, this is my place.
She was like, and it's not like they're not using the equipment right. They don't know what they're doing. They're taking, because, you know, they're taking
Which is exactly why I don't go.
Right, yeah. That's the
I have
thing.
all
I don't
kind of
understand how to
fears
use the
around
equipment,
that.
so I just decide not to go, and I'm like, I'll walk or run instead.
Yeah. I have
And
all
that's
kind
free.
of fears around
And
that.
it's free. So.
But it is, and a lot of people are headed to the gym, and good for you. Look, I have a brother that goes all the time, and look, he's into it, and it's his thing, and I'm like, that's your
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's not my thing.
Right. And I think for people who
It's a discomfort for me.
If it's not your thing, don't try to make it your thing.
Yeah, right. I could go, even as an adult at 50 years old, I would go play basketball full court for like 3.5 hours.
And not think about it.
And never thought about it. Never
Right.
thought about it. And do it over and over and over
Right.
again. I mean, hardcore full court with 20-year-olds and people that played college basketball sometimes. And I mean, your clothes were hanging off of you. You sweated every
Yeah.
drop of sweat, and they weighed so much. Never thought about it. It's
Right.
not like I don't like activity, but I'm intimidated by gym, and
Right.
I've just beaten that to death, and I don't even have to go there. But it is a new year, and I would like to like it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't, and so that's why I'm saying that the New Year's resolution is problematic for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And now, look, I will go through periods where I think my weight is higher than I want it to be, and I will adjust my diet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more, what am I doing for me, and how am I doing it? I don't really want a New Year's resolution
Right.
so that by February 14th I feel like a failure, and then I want 6 caramel cakes.
Right.
Because I've actually done that before.
And if you start off with this idea of I'm going to work out, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to sleep more, I'm going to read, I'm not going to be on my phone, those are really, really big changes.
Yeah, big changes.
So your whole lifestyle
Yes.
shifts and something uncomfortable happens. You have a bad day at work.
Right.
You know, you get in a fight with your wife, whatever might happen, and then you go back to what's comfortable.
That's right.
Because you've made unsustainable changes.
And sometimes what I experience in the addiction world, we're less a fan of these. And so we're really experts, honestly, in how to change your life. I tell everybody, because we figured out saying you don't want to do it is not enough.
Right.
It's what's at your core. So people ask me all the time, Phoebe, they say, okay, I've watched you change your life. And my friends, I have a lot of friends that have known me since middle school, you know, and they will tell me all the time, they're like, you're so much happier. They say things like, every time I see you, you're that way. It's consistent. You're happier. What is the secret? And for me, it very much fits into a New Year's plan because every year I try to assess how can I be better along
Mm-hmm.
those lines. But instead of like a resolution of I will not eat cake, which by the way, I should probably eat less cake. Let me be clear. And I certainly do not need to drink alcohol and I certainly don't need to do these things, but I more have, base core things I work on that are about me.
Mm-hmm.
So like one of them that I always say like in 3 keys to joy, one is you have to focus on yourself. And that sounds selfish. It sounds so selfish. But here's the thing, Phoebe, you better serve others when you better focus on yourself, which means you got to try to give up wanting to control others. You have to be willing to give up everything you can't control. You have to eliminate blame, as in,
Mm-hmm.
I would write a better book if I didn't have all these other things dragging me
Mm-hmm.
down. I would do a better podcast if I had, more time to plan the content. I would be a better father if I didn't have all these responsibilities dragging me down. So it's like when you come to a period of like, how can I launch into continuous improvement? The more you can focus on yourself, as in, you know what? You can't control others. If you don't like your job, guess what? You're in charge, quit.
Mm-hmm.
If you think that you finishing a year and you feel like loved ones or parents or others are creating an environment that is too stressful and is unfair, stand up for yourself and speak for yourself. And so when you can focus on yourself, you can better serve others. And it can sound selfish,
Mm-hmm.
but it's actually not. It is a specific step for others. It's
Mm-hmm.
like when you can better take personal responsibility. It's always you, not
Mm-hmm.
them. It's always me,
Yeah.
not them. And so that's something like as I look to 2025, I mean, that kind of thing has helped change my life, but I can do it better.
Mm-hmm.
I can take more personal responsibility and it may, I get a better result. And another one is vulnerability. People say like you get up on a stage or you write a book and you're so vulnerable. They say actually sometimes you're too vulnerable. And that's probably right. I've revealed some things that no human probably should, but you get a lot more joy and you have a lot better year when you are vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
when you can speak that way. And then another one is practicing forgiveness. Most of us carry around feelings. We want to be forgiven because we've done wrong by others. But one of the things that can bottle us up, that can help us feel anxiety, is we feel shame or feel embarrassed or we think we just haven't been good enough,
Mm-hmm.
So these are things like focusing on yourself, like stop blaming others, trying to be more vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make sure you really are thinking about where you need amends and who you need to give forgiveness to.
Mm-hmm.
These kind of things are not really how we think about a New Year's resolution. But if we work on ourselves, if we work on, resolving to be stronger at the core,
Mm-hmm.
then it gets a lot easier to not drink as much, to eat less cake, to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you learn that's the lessons that we learn in this journey of sobriety and addiction that we get to share with the mainstream rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the top line thing is never the thing.
Right.
Sure, you have to focus on, I have to be conscious about eating less caramel cake. Sure, because I'm older and that matters. But I'm stronger at making that decision when I understand what's going on at the root.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think when you look, I think it's so important to do a pulse check at the beginning of every year. Like, what did I feel like was missing in 2024? Community. Okay. So how can I create community in where I am?
Yes.
How can I get involved? I think like a big thing is just even at the grocery store, like, are you doing self-checkout or are you going to the person to check you out? Are you looking people in the eyes when you talk? Like, just making small adjustments
That's a
of,
great idea because
I have,
studies show you were the more you engage with community, the happier you will be.
right. And I think people are so confused. Oh, I'm so lonely. I don't have any friends or whatever. And it's like, okay, you wake up, you go to work, you talk to the same people you talk to about work. You go to the grocery store, you check yourself out, you go to the gas station, you pump yourself gas, you go home, you sit on the couch and you watch TV. So, how can you be intentional to invite community in? Invite your daughter to go grocery shopping with you.
Yes.
Get your son to pump the gas.
Yes.
He's never done that before. That's really fun for him.
Right.
Look the person who's checking you out in the eyes. Ask
And
them
say
their name.
something, ask them a question, say something nice to them.
Ask
Make
them when
their
they get
day.
off. What are they going to do when
Mhm.
they get off? What are they involved in the
Mhm.
community? Yesterday, I was at Larson's and I was checking out.
A
And,
grocery store in Oxford.
yeah, a grocery store in Oxford. And the lady was checking me out because they don't have self-checkout there.
Right.
And I had to wait in line and it was uncomfortable because I'm so quick to do self-checkout. And I talked to her and I said, what are you going to do tonight? She's like, well, I'm going to go to Bible study. Even though I normally keep my grandkids tonight, I've got Bible study, so I've got to go to that. Okay, I've just learned something about
Right.
this person who is checking me out. So
She has a life.
she has a
She's
life.
Not, yes.
She has a faith that she's passionate
Yes.
about, that she loves. She has children that she cares
Yes.
about. She has grandchildren. And so I think so many of us are like, oh, I'm lonely, I'm bored, I'm tired, I'm whatever. Okay, stop blaming those things and
Absolutely.
start doing things.
And that's actually the perfect example of when I say focus on yourself. When I first give that advice to people, it throws them a little bit because
Right.
you're like, wait, I know you get more joy from others, but see, it's how do you reach others?
Right.
And so what happens when you're in a culture of blame, when you're assigning, I would be happy if, that's what we humans do. I would be happy if. So when you get in these self-loathing periods, when you focus on yourself with intentionality and you stop the blame, it forces you into community. You're like, you know what? I need to speak to this person and ask them a question, and they
Right.
will ask me one back.
Right. And when you figure out what you need, okay, you need community.
Yes.
Stop expecting people to just walk right up
Put
to
it
you.
at your feet.
You start doing things. So instead of like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. Okay, well, what are you going to do?
Right.
How are you going to spend your time? If you're not doing all of this, okay, then you've got a lot of time to fill.
That's
so what
right.
are you going to do with that?
Yeah, and we are all in charge of our own destiny. When you look at people and you look at studies of joy and happiness, and I think that's where there is something rooted in New Year's resolutions where there is value in the sense of, and so I get it. If you want to do a resolution, do it. But I always challenge people to look to the deeper issue. Look to the deeper issue of why am I doing this and what benefit might I get
Right.
out of it? Because at the end of the day, when we have a purpose and we understand what that purpose is, we're a lot more likely to see it through, you know? And so if we say we're going to run, but why?
Yeah.
Like, what are we hoping to get out of it?
Yeah.
And why are we doing it? So when, if it's like, I need to move more, I need to be more goal oriented, these are all unbelievable,
Right.
valuable strategies for human self-improvement. But it's looking down to the deeper issue of what those are. And a lot of it, like when I talk about practicing vulnerability, if all of us got a little more vulnerable in 2025, for those we work with, from family, with ourselves, we will uncover so many things. So if we only resolve to practice and work at vulnerability and give ourselves checks on that. So when somebody says, hey, how you doing? Fine is a fine answer if you're in a hurry and you're having to be somewhere, but giving an actual answer, might surprise ourselves sometimes what that answer is. Actually, I'm tired. Oh, well, maybe I need to think about why that is and what I want to do about it, or I don't know, I feel kind of blue. It's the holidays and I'm not sure who, where, what, why.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel lonely, a little lonely. It's the holidays and I'm excited for Christmas, but I feel a little lonely and I'm not sure what I'm going to do about it.
Mm.
We might be surprised what answers we may get, and what somebody may invite us even to do, or how we can retool our own life, So here's an example of that. There's a young man I know who he's a lawyer. He's a young man Hudson's age, my son Hudson's age. He's a successful lawyer. He's a father. And a year or so ago, he arrived at the end of the year, and these are his words, not mine. Like he never said, I felt like I weighed too much or this. He never phrased it as that, but he said, like, I'm just not where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
He'd played sports in high school, maybe even in college some, but his life had changed. And so he was pursuing faith aggressively, family aggressively, but he hadn't focused on himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so he felt like he wasn't really there for others the way he should be. And so by the end of the year, he saw someone on LinkedIn who was talking about Ironman competitions. And
my gosh, they're insane.
And he invited others to join. And so instead of, this young man I know, instead of him just deciding, I'm going to have a resolution to run or whatever, he decided this deeper core thing of, I need to focus more on myself. I don't feel like I'm at my best. And so he went and joined this tribe.
Mm-hmm.
So he got community. He learned practice vulnerability because he was so out of shape.
Mm-hmm.
He had to say, like, at first he had to tell them, I don't think I can do that, because there were parts he couldn't do. So he's swimming, he's biking, he's running. And in that, you've put yourself into a position where you're in this life-changing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched by the end of the year, he looked totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the language he spoke in how he framed about his life and how he did. And it's been very interesting watching that. It was not a New Year's resolution. It was like, I'm going to get down to the core and work on my life.
Right.
And it was all these things, focusing on yourself. He had to practice vulnerability, putting himself into a world that he was very uncomfortable in because he was very out of shape. He wasn't prepared in any way. And I've watched this transformation, and it's been just profound,
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that. I mean, we could do it in things like writing. We can do it in things like being a better parent and just being a stronger and better person that we respect ourselves more.
Mm-hmm. And I think believing that life can be better, like the areas where you feel stuck, that's not it, And so giving yourself the freedom to, okay, I really enjoyed how much I traveled this year, or how my family ate dinner together, or walking, or how I was curious about my work. But I really don't feel like I had enough self-time. So I felt really drained when I was with people, or I don't feel like I was taking care of my body. I was really tired all the time. Okay, so let's keep the things that worked and adjust the things that didn't, and continue to
Right.
just stop feeling sorry for yourself and start doing things you really want to do.
Every single person can and should have a better life in 2025.
Right.
Every person can. When you've studied lean manufacturing, I crack people up. I'll be at a big auditorium and I start giving them manufacturing stories at a big audit talk or something, and I can see them go, oh my gosh, this is going to be awful. I thought this guy was interesting. This is awful. But listen to this point. It's really short. I remember a Toyota manufacturing plant in Kentucky, I think, where they assembled the Camry. So all these years of manufacturing sedans, this Toyota plant had gotten it down to, we'll make the number up because I don't remember the number, but this team working together, they'd gotten it down to, in 18 minutes, they could assemble the hood on a Toyota Camry. And they had a very profitable year for Toyota, and that plant won awards for safety and excellence in manufacturing. But in continuous improvement, they're like, you know what? We come together, we work together. We've enjoyed working together. We've all prospered, made money. The company has prospered, but we believe it can be better.
Mm-hmm.
And so they work together, talking about being strong at the core and how might they work as a team to reduce that manufacturing time. And a few years later, they have that time down to 11 minutes per hood. And so we're all a little bit like the manufactured vehicle, right? I mean, we can get set in our ways and it can take 18 minutes when the reality is we can do it in 11 minutes. And we can have better. I've done that. It was probably, I guess now 13 years ago when I decided enough. I will go have a better life. I will stand up for myself. And when I'm in things, I think this just isn't good enough. I mean, I can have better. I'm not going to rush and be radical, but I can go do something about it. I'm in charge of that. And practicing vulnerability, working at just forgiving others, not living in blame. And then a lot of the little things around life that you need to resolve to do, they just get a lot easier. And you think, could it be better every single year? I can tell you yes. That I've been in 12, 13 years of every single year has been better than the one before, but I'm intentional about it. But I resolve to look deep into the core to figure out what do I need to work on.
Right, and you're no longer letting it get to the point where it got, where I think people are like, well, one day maybe I'll start doing this, or one day I'll start doing this. And then you get to a point where you have no choice but to start doing
Well,
it.
that's what you do. That's the addictive cycle. Tomorrow I will do better on
Right.
this. So it continues to erode. And then you have so far back to come that it's hard,
Right, when small adjustments like waking up and getting outside, getting the sunshine on your face can do a lot. Drinking water, sleeping at a normal time, putting your phone in another room while you sleep. These things change your life. And I think
dramatically.
we come up with this idea, I need to, travel to a different continent every month, or I need to ski in Colorado at least 3 weekends this year. And we think those things are going to fix, but really, you can't travel every single day. You can't be skiing every single day. When you change your daily habits that, form your lifestyle, that's when there's growth and change. Like I heard someone say once, you only really remember a handful of meals you've had, If you think of your lifetime of the meals you've had, maybe a couple, like maybe 10, a couple birthdays, maybe a Thanksgiving or a Christmas. But you ate every day.
Every day.
And you grew every day. And so, like, what ways are you feeding yourself that is going to impact you in 20 years? If I hadn't eaten every day, I would be dead now.
Right.
So how are you feeding yourself, feeding your soul, looking for connection, looking for community, looking for meaning? It doesn't have to be a feast every time, but sometimes it's just a snack or a breakfast. And so I think having that view of daily changes is a lot more manageable than running a marathon every month in 2025.
It's how I write a book. People say, I'd like to write a book, but you do it. Well, the difference is I'm putting pennies in the jar, right? I'm willing to do that daily drill of pennies in the jar, and I don't have to resolve to do that, but I succeed at it. I can tell you this, when I'm not strong at the core, I don't write very well. And I don't do it very disciplined. When I'm in a healthy state, I could write 6 books in a year, and that's just an analogy that I think all of us. And before we get to our back porch conversation, you gave me, reminded me of something important. Just as only a few meals are important, in the workplace, most of the work we do in 1 year, most people won't remember. They will not remember it. We go work and we do a great job, and people will tell us we do a great job. What we know is usually even someone's boss or somebody close to them, they'll only usually remember the 1 or 2 very special things that they did. Unique. I learned that lesson maybe about the time I turned my life around. And it's interesting, I've focused in my work since then as I look at a new year, and it changed everything. I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a little less of the snacking, and I'm going to give a little more, focus a little more on the things that I can deliver impact on. And so I tell people a lot also, if you want to look at like, how can I make impact in the new year? You work on yourself. You try to be more vulnerable. You certainly try to be more forgiving. Just get out of this culture of blame. Take responsibility yourself, and then set your goals on some things that are both achievable, but not too many. But mostly, like, it doesn't have to be, I resolve to not eat cake, not eat sweets. It could be in the workplace. It could be, it's like, look, I'm going to attempt to achieve these 3 goals in this year and make them very achievable, but then do just as you said. It's about all these steps that you take along the way. You just start taking baby steps and you start moving to it. And what I've found when you do that, there's very few years that I haven't achieved the goals that I've set. And it's really fulfilling.
Yeah.
And you can stack one year on top of another, and then you can think, you know what, that's a body of work that if my time comes to an end on this earth, when it does, not if, I'll be okay. Okay, Phoebe, it's our back porch conversation. It's that time between, it's just about Christmas, and New Year is on the way, and these are just wonderful days. And so we have family time. We have, people are off work. You can rest. People usually eat a lot. I usually eat way too much. But how we use these times, both for our enjoyment and what we hope to get out of them, are interesting. So I can go first if I'm catching you off guard. But what does a good holiday between Christmas and New Year's Day look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really special because there's no agenda. I think a lot with Christmas and New Year's, there's a big agenda. Like, you go to church and you have all these meals and these traditions, but that space between Christmas and New Year's is kind of the sweet spot of just resting. And it's short enough where the rest doesn't get old, but it's long enough where you do have to fill your time. So normally what I'll do is enjoy my Christmas gifts. So I'll normally get a couple books that I'll read, and I'll just lay on the couch and read, or go for walks with my family, cook, eat.
I love that you're still young enough when you still get Christmas gifts. When you get old like me, the
I
gifts
never want to
dwindle.
not get Christmas gifts.
Once you're like the grandfather, it's kind of like you just got to be making sure downstream. It's all about downstream.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's okay.
I love my Christmas
It
gifts.
happens over time. Yeah. So are you a go to the movies?
Yeah, we like to go to the movies. And normally around Christmas and New Year's, there's a lot of good movies that will come out.
No doubt. When I had when I was starting my life over, and all of our family was together for the first time on a Christmas, and I was in New York. And oddly enough, I don't know how she did it. My wife drove my sons and daughter and our dog from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Manhattan in a Prius.
That sounds like the
A
worst.
small Toyota Prius.
With a dog in the car?
A dog in the car. But we had the days of like Christmas to New Year's all together, and what we did was walk a lot, eat a lot, and went to the movie. Where I lived in Manhattan, just by Union Square, there's more movie theaters. There's a lot of independent movie theaters. I had about 10 movie theaters, independent movie theaters, chain movie theaters, within like a half mile. It was wild, and I'm all about a movie, and I'll go to a movie by myself. And so we went to a movie about every single day, and then just go find some food. And you're like, you don't get that gift much.
Yeah.
That like you can. So you said read a book or go to a movie. Like, that's a gift.
It's so slow.
No
one really knows what to do with their
They
time.
don't know
so
what they have no idea. But those are the most special days, which is why I bring them up. They're times for conversation with family. They're,
and reflecting, because these are the last days before the new year. Like January, there's a sort of motivation that December 30th didn't have,
That's
because
right.
there's a slowness,
yes.
Processing, thinking back, and you're not looking forward quite yet.
Yeah, I take a nap every single day in that break. I do not let a day go in that space without taking a nap. Because January, I know it's time to get serious, and the naps are over. Okay, check us out. Sign up for our newsletter, alittlecrazy.com. Check us out on social media, A Little Crazy Podcast, and follow us. Share our videos. Tell others about it, and come back and see us again. We'll see you next week.